We're living in an interesting time in the world right now, especially with everything that's going on. The way we work and travel has changed in a very short space of time. But in some ways, I think there are real opportunities that we can seize to shape our new lives. I would like to propose and discuss an idea with you that came my way purely by chance during this time. And that's of working from home online from another country rather than your traditional home. For a second, think about how you've been living and working for the last year. I know that most of my friends and I have been forced to work from home online compared to traditionally working in offices. During this time, many of us have realized that we can actually work from home productively and we don't need to go into offices anymore or take long commutes which take 2 hours out of your day. And companies have also realized this and are reassessing how they work and are completely happy with their employees working from home. So here lies the new opportunity that I'm suggesting. If you can work from home online, why do you have to be based in your hometown? You can literally do the same work anywhere around the world whilst working for the same company and at the same time immersing yourself in new culture and having a new experience, maybe one that you always wanted to immerse yourself in. Maybe this is the time for that now. But first, I would like to say that I truly understand when some people say that this might not be a good idea right now and that we should stay at home due to our world's current situation. However, I think we can find a balance here by getting tested beforehand, by traveling safely and wisely, and being informed on your new country's current cases and lockdown rules. Because what I'm proposing here is not to really travel around the country, more so choosing a base and staying there and working from there and really immersing yourself in that culture. You can choose a hub for maybe 1 to 3 months and try to make that your home and work from there to begin with. Secondly, I understand that not all of us have the privilege of owning a passport and being from a country where you can travel and work in another country without problems such as visa issues, long legal procedures and high costs. Fortunately, I'm from the UK where I can travel and work in many countries, especially around Europe. But I understand and empathize that this is not the case for everyone. I personally don't think this system is fair, as you didn't choose which country you were born in or what nationality you got, and that dictated what passport you got. But that's a story for another day. So why am I suggesting this lifestyle and potentially seizing this opportunity right now? So here's my story, just to give you a background. A year ago, I used to work in finance in the city in London before switching careers to start making short films. So during this time, I fully knew what it was like working in an office all day and then rushed to get home on a crowded tube and spend 2 hours on a commute back and forth. But start of this year, I'm sure like most of you, I was stuck inside at home working on videos and adapting to a new way of life and tackling all the challenges and blessings that came our way during the lockdown. But in the late summer, when lockdown was eased, I traveled to a small village in the south of Portugal to visit a close friend and stay there for 2 weeks. What I initially thought was going to be a 2-week stay finally has turned into a 3-month stay. Here's why I decided to stay longer in Portugal rather than going back to London right now. The south of Portugal, where I am, wasn't really affected by the pandemic that much due to the small towns and villages being sparsely populated. They were hardly affected and there were very few cases here, so the way of life didn't change that much. So you couldn't really feel any difference in the life here. But then, as I am able to work online and make short films, I realized that I can stay here and make some beautiful short films about Portugal and my experiences here. And I thought this was a great opportunity for me to actually see this country in a very specific time, whilst also living with my close friends who are Portuguese and learning about Portuguese culture directly from them. It felt very culturally beneficial for me to stay here during this time. So it was actually a win-win for me. So why am I suggesting that you could also do this and live this type of lifestyle at this moment? One of the reasons is that it can be quite cost effective now. I know a lot of my friends right now in London, they're paying 800 to £1,000 just to share a room, whilst they're just working from home online. So they're not even getting to experience what London has to offer. Whereas here, for example, the small village I'm staying in, it's 200 euros per month for a room. So the cost of accommodation is considerably less, and there are many ways of accessing this. If you stay in Airbnb for a long period of time, from 1 to 3 months, the price is always cheaper. Or you can find locals here who offer you rooms for 200 to 250 euros. So if you wanted, you can actually rent your house back home and at the same time come and stay in a place here where the cost of accommodation is a lot less. So you'll be saving a lot of money. Additionally, what I found was that the cost of food was a bit cheaper here than what I paid in London. One of the main beneficial things that I think you can gain from this is a deep sense of cultural immersion from living like this. Because you have a lot of time, if you're staying here for 1 to 3 months, you can really get to know the local culture, the local people, and the way of life here much more than if you were just visiting here for a few days or a week. And I find that over my time here of staying in Portugal for 3 months, it's made me get to know the culture and the Portuguese people in a lot more depth and in a lot more nuanced way. And I found that, for my example, that Portuguese culture and Indian culture was a lot more similar than I thought, which I might have never found out if I hadn't stayed here for such a long time. Along with this, you can actually feel like you're part of a community and a country by staying here longer. You know, you get to know the culture, the food, the people in a very intimate manner. And I think that can really enrich your experience and your time. You're also able to learn a set of new skills that you might have always wanted to. For example, if you wanted to learn a language, there's no better way than actually being in that country. So if you wanted to learn Portuguese, you should be in Portugal. You can directly speak with the people and practice your language through them. Or if you wanted to learn a specific cuisine, you can take classes here.
Spinach. This is Indian curry. This is proper Indian, okay? This is proper Indian. Voila. Okay?
Or you can actually learn it from the locals and buy local ingredients and make it how they make it. For example, you can be like Dev in Master of None when he goes to a random town in Italy to make pasta. That could be you.
I just made a quick stop in Modena where Master of None was filmed, when Aziz Ansari made pasta and fell in love with the Italian girl. I'm fully ready.
For me, I wanted to learn more about growing my own food and regenerative agriculture because there are so many agronomists and farms here. I'm able to learn that part, and I can take that knowledge and information back with me when I go back to London and try to grow my own fruits and vegetables there. You can also use this time as a testing period. I used to constantly get messages from people saying, how are you able to travel? I want to go and live in another country, but I'm too scared. I don't know what the experience will be like. Whereas this, you can actually give yourself a testing period to see if you are able to live in another country and if you're able to travel in another country. Just give yourself maybe initially a month to start out with and see if you actually like living like this and the culture and the way of life. Because sometimes I think we have ideas about what it will be like traveling or living in another country, but you never get to test it out as you have to make a big move. Whereas now, because you're just using a 1 to 3 month period, it might tell you that this way of life is either for you or not. So this can be used as sort of an experiment to find out if you do want to live in another country. One big reason for me to stay here was the nature. I know a lot of us who are living in cities during lockdown really struggle not being able to be out in nature or have access to nature. Whereas, for example, here in the small village I'm living in, the beach is only 20 minutes away and there are mountains maybe 30 minutes drive away. I'm fully surrounded by nature, and I think during this time we need access to that for our physical and mental health, as a lot of us have suffered. For me personally, that has been a huge plus to see the waves crashing in a beach and to go hiking in the nearby mountains and to have fresh air. So this could also be one of the reasons why you move to another country, so that you can be closer to nature. Another side thing that I noticed when you spend enough time in a country is that the fantasy of the country or a culture or a way of life gets removed. As being here for so long, you actually get to truly know what it's like, and you get to see and assess if this way of life is for you, or just accept it for what it is. For me personally, I found that coming from a city of 9 million people to a place where there's only 300 people initially was a bit of a shock. Additionally, as this is a small village, there aren't that many young people here and many people of color, which I'm kind of used to being surrounded by in London. It took some time to adjust, which was fine for me, but I had to get used to that and to see what it would actually be like living in a small place like this. And the only way you know is by actually experiencing it, right? Because in some ways I've actually enjoyed the slow pace of life and the slow kind of living, as it has brought me a lot of joy and benefited me in a lot of ways. And I learned to see if this slow pace of life is actually for me. To add to all of this, I understand that this can be a very scary move and full of uncertainty and opportunity at the same time. But I think that we have a great chance now, as we can work online from anywhere, to really get to know and understand understand the culture and now have the possibility of not quitting your job and moving somewhere and finding another job, but actually using your current job to actually immerse yourself in a new culture that you might have always wanted to, and learn about yourself whilst being in another country. For me personally, staying here for 3 months, I found it incredibly beneficial, as I almost pinch myself every day to think that, God, I got so lucky being here at the right time, at the right place, and to live with my close friends who have showed me so much of their culture and shared their food with me and all their experiences, which I might have never had gotten if I didn't come here during this time. So I'm incredibly grateful for having lived in Portugal during the past couple of months, because I almost never thought it would happen. I didn't expect it at all. So I hope in some ways that I've inspired you to maybe reassess your life and see if you can utilize this time to experience a new culture and a new way of life. So please do let me know your thoughts on if the last 2 years have made you rethink on how you want to work and live in the future. And if you are interested in working remotely from anywhere around the world now, and your reasons why. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want more stories like this, I hope you subscribe. You can also support me by signing up to my newsletter, which I send out once a month, or by signing up to my Patreon. It's all deeply appreciated. And I'll see you next time.